Welcome to week 5 of Cab Conversations. I'm your host, Megan Grebner. This week we are checking back in with our first group of farmers and to get an update on how things are in their area. If you remember correctly, in week 1 we talked a lot about water quality and water issues and water resources. And with us this week is Adam Kastner in Missouri, Cannon Michael in California, and Jay Hill in New Mexico. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Adam, let's start with you in Missouri. Talk to me about what the month of May has been like for you.
Month of May has been pretty wet for us. I just figured out this morning we've had 7.5 inches of rainfall in May so far, and I saw this morning where this is the 9th wettest May in history since they've been keeping records in Kansas City. I had 127 years. So we've been pretty wet. We've escaped the river so far. It keeps bouncing back and forth, up and down. Right now, it's not really in a dangerous spot, but we are taking on some seep water. So some of our crops are still standing in water. We've had sunshine yesterday and today, so we're starting to dry out a little bit. Just enough time for the next shot of rain coming in tomorrow and Friday. So that's kind of May in a nutshell for us.
We'll come back and talk to you a little bit about how the crop is doing. Jay, you were in the field this evening in New Mexico. Talk to me about how the month of May has been for you and things that have been going on in your neck of the woods.
Well, May is usually our start to our craziness. It's when we start our chili harvest, or excuse me, not chili, our onion harvest. And New Mexico being such an arid climate, we hardly ever see rain or anything like that. We always have a joke that if it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain the first day of harvest. And sure enough, when we started harvesting on onions, we had large superstorms build up, and we were fortunate enough to miss them by about 100 yards. It dropped about an inch of rain 100 yards from here, and so the weather's been real hit and miss. The crop condition looks great on our end just because we haven't gotten any, but some of the other guys in the valley like us have gotten some of this bad moisture. It's hard too because we call it bad moisture, but at the same time, without it we don't survive. So.
Cannon, what about you in California? Any type of moisture precipitation, good or bad, in your area? Cannon, what about you in California?
I think the police got him.
I think he's muted. He shows the microphone with a dash through it on mine.
Mine too. Too bad it's not duck season.
Got him.
We got a bunch over here.
Cannon, are you there?
Yeah, I lost the audio there, and then the app crashed. I don't know what happened there. So.
All right. How are things going in California? Any moisture of any type in your area?
We did get a little bit of rain, but not very much at all. May is traditionally pretty dry. I mean, most of the year's pretty dry anyway, so it's not uncommon that we were not all that wet. But was cooler probably conditions than usual. Lot more wind and kind of cool temperatures.
As we talk about an update on crops and how things are going around the country, Cannon, what about you in California? How are things looking, and what's going on crop-wise in your neck of the woods?
The crops are all looking okay. We've got a lot of tomatoes planted. We've got about a quarter of our acreage is not planted, so that's a big change for us. We've never never had so much fallowed or abandoned ground. So it's it's obviously kind of that's a big change. It's fairly depressing.
Jay, you are in the middle of onion harvest, as we talked a little bit about earlier. Talk to us and tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what's going on as you harvest the crop.
Field right now, what we're doing is called rolling the tops, and when the tops are rolled, it stops the growth process in the onion. So these onions, let me turn my camera. So these onions right here were not, the tops were not laying down naturally. These are what they looked like before. And so what we're doing is just using a regular old piece of pipe behind a cultivator on a skinny tired tractor. And we're just forcing the tops down so that way the onion starts to harden up before we can start hand harvesting them. As far as crop condition goes, though, I mean, everything looks really, really good. So that's in comparison to a hand. So it looks pretty good. We look like we probably won't hit a gap in harvest all the way till the end of August. So we're excited.
Talk to me about the man hours and how much goes into harvest, because it's not like a harvest that we see in the Corn Belt that's automated or you're able to use machines.
Yeah, it's really intense in the fact that one, of course, like anybody else that's in the ag world that's not in a controlled environment, you know, we're always at whatever's going to happen with the weather is what's going to happen. So we try to work as quick as we can on fields that are ready. We employ during the summer between 5 farms. We employ somewhere around 300, 350 people, and we try to harvest 6 days a week and haul 7 days a week, just making sure we get the crop out. It's a lot of hours. We start about 4:30 every morning, and we stop somewhere around 10:30 at night. So it's a heck of a run for a summer.
Thanks, Jay. Adam, that you've been battling some water issues. How is the crop looking, and how are things otherwise in that area?
The corn's kind of pale and puny looking. To be honest, it's been cool and damp and just not very good growing conditions. Most of it's in pretty good health for what it's been through. You've seen it the last 2 days with sunshine, a little warmer weather. See it really perk up and take off growing. So we need some more of that to get it going. On our farm, we come back and side dress everything after we put on our pre-anhydrous. We'll come back and side dress it. So we still got to make a pass back through the crop and then post our corn, emerge spray it. So we've got a lot of work yet to do that we can't even get in the field to do. Most of our corn has been kind of just hanging out and stunted and not growing much, but we get some warm days, it's really going to take off, and that window to get back in that corn is going to close pretty quick on us. And there's a few guys that got some soybeans planted around, but not very many, and most of them have made it up, and they're going ahead and growing, but there's not even enough of them, and they're coming up to speak about, really.
Thanks, Adam. Shannon, in California, you mentioned tomato planting season. Talk to me about the labor that goes into that and how that's done in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, so all of our transplants, or our tomato start as transplants, so we obviously have to get the seed and greenhouse space and do all that stuff. Several months ago we did all that, and so had the transplants come out, and we actually do it about 5 rows at a time. It's kind of a semi-mechanical process, but the transplanters actually have 5 people sitting on them, and then there's a kind of rotating carousel where the plants drop down into the row, and then it has some packing wheels that pack the ground behind the transplant. So it's semi-mechanical, hand labor, but pretty efficient process for as delicate as the plants are. But all those, we probably finished planting about maybe 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, and the plants look good. There's a little bit of evidence of some leafhopper damage, which brings on a virus called curly top, but it's not as bad as it's been in some of the past years. But overall, the crop does look pretty good. And then we've got our cotton, we've got some corn. We'll plant melons in a little bit, but everything's looking pretty good so far.
Thanks, Cannon. This also gives you guys the opportunity to ask questions of each other. So let's turn it over to you. What questions do you have for each other and about your operations and how things have gone in the last month?
Jay, how long did you say your onion harvest would last?
Sorry, I had the mute button held down. We usually start harvest last week of May, and we'll finish out somewhere around the second to last week of August. So like the variety that I'm rolling right now, we planted it the 22nd of September, and it's just now coming out. And then the stuff that'll be harvested at the end, we finished planting it the 1st of March.
And you have other crops growing also, don't you, that you'll have to be tending to at the same time?
Right. We'll be planting lettuce and cabbage here pretty quick. I opted out on planting corn this year. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I decided to go against the corn this year. But we're looking at a couple of small grain options that we'd plant in the fall, and then alfalfa is full bore right now, and we just finished wheat.
So you all are stretched pretty thin right now then.
It gets a little tight. That's why I'm on the rolling tractor today. Everybody else has got something busy going on, so I got the short straw.
Talk to me about labor and how you're able to get that much done on your operation and how much manpower it takes.
It's amazing the amount of people that are here, but the amount of good people that we have that are employed. I can't say enough about the crews that we have. They're the hardest working people. I mean, hands down. You don't ever hear of someone, well, they took 3 days off because they were not feeling well or they had a toothache. I mean, they show up to sundown. They don't complain. And then the managers, everybody that runs crews, or myself, my father, my nephew, everybody's kind of got their job and they know what they're supposed to do, and it really manages itself. It's amazing. I don't know how, people say, well, it looks like you're just stacking marbles or herding cats, but it all works out pretty well. I don't know how.
You guys we've talked a lot about being open about your operations. I think, Jay and Cannon, what you guys grow maybe is more visible to how it makes it from the farm to the food or to the dinner plate. Adam, when you look at your operation and what you do, what's the best way for you to explain the importance of corn production, soybean productions to consumers and those people that maybe don't see it on the day-to-day operation or don't understand why what you do is related to what they eat on their dinner plate?
Yeah, so what we're producing and raising is it doesn't show up in the supermarket like what Jay or Cannon are necessarily. We're not raising grade or waxy corn. Most of ours gets ground into ethanol, which in the DDGs, the distilled grains, gets fed to livestock, or it goes on down the line, a little farther, and consumer never does actually see our finished product in a supermarket, I guess. So it's kind of a little harder for us to to communicate with the consumer about what we do out here. There's a lot of people think that what we raise out here is what ends up in the supermarket. They eat off the cob, and I don't think anybody wants to come try and eat our corn off the cob because it wouldn't turn out so good for them. But that's, like I said, most of ours goes into ethanol production around here anymore. That's the big market for us. So they burn it in their gas tank more than they get it in their supermarket, I guess.
Cannon, what about you? talk to me about your message to consumers and about the food or the clothes that they wear and how what you do is important to their everyday lives.
Yeah, for us, I mean, obviously with the drought, there's been a lot of, I mean, it's kind of a strange, weird backlash on agriculture, and all this criticism is coming from people who eat 3 times a day and who hopefully, from the looks of most of them, wear clothes every day. But it's tough because we're all consumers of water. Most of what we eat is water. Most of our bodies are made up of water, but people seem to forget that it takes water to grow everything that you consume. I think the message I try to get across is that we can import food from somewhere else, but that I may be able to show you a tomato from California and one from Mexico. It may not immediately translate into seeing a visual difference, but the environmental and ethical footprint of how those two things are produced are entirely different. So I think the conversation needs to shift of you want your water to be used by people who have standards for the environment, standards for how they treat their workers, have some accountability if they do something wrong. And that's what United States farmers do have, where a lot of other countries don't have that. So it's a lot of times California agriculture seems to be trying to apologize for using water to grow things, or trying to account for how much exactly we use and all those things. And some of that's an important discussion, but the bottom line is it takes water to grow things, and the market demands a certain amount of fresh produce, and also just even down to cotton or alfalfa. I mean, those things are all important, and there's the reality is it takes water to be in the business that we're in, and it takes water to live. And if you eat 3 meals a day, and if you wear clothes or whatever, that comes from water. So I think people just unfortunately have kind of forgotten how much water is a part of everything, and that you want, again, like I said, people to be good stewards of the resource. And I can't see how California and United States farmers aren't the top folks that you want to keep in business.
Guys, any other questions for each other?
Good luck. Stay safe.
I'm trying not to kill somebody in this traffic. It's horrible. I want to be back on the farm. I hate this. I wish could I flip this camera around? I wish I could show you. Here, I'll show you guys what I'm sitting in. All behind me, it's a mess. Anyway.
I don't envy that. I don't see traffic in rush hour, and I can't fathom California traffic in rush hour.
Yeah, this is going to be a long drive home. What should be a 2-hour drive is going to be like a 4-hour drive because.
Gosh.